right, my lovelies. I'd just like you to spend 10 minutes or so with your instructor. Some of you have reached the point that you're ready to start working in color. Some of you haven't. Either way, it's okay. I'm not trying to pressure you. What I just want to show you, if you want to get started, because you have until from now until Wednesday. If you want to get started adding color, I don't want to hold you back. So what I have here in front of me, I have a grid. I have elements on the grid. You can see I'm still missing the logo. I think I might put the little Max logo up here. Haven't decided that. Couple things I just like to walk through in the next 10 minutes that you may or may not know about. Let's talk a little bit about letter spacing. That's the space between these letters. So if I come up here, again, I just want to point out, I'm in Essentials Classic. This is the letter spacing, see that? This is the kerning, and this is the tracking. Both of these things involve letter spacing. So it's set to metrics, which is the default. I always use optical because I think it's a better choice. So I'm going to do that. That's not a big deal, but I just want to show you, just as an example, if I wanted this to stretch out, if I come in here to the tracking and I start to increase the tracking, I can do that. Now, the thing that I will point out to you, if you're going to track type out like this, make it all caps. And the way that you do that, let me just see, because I think it's, let's say that's Adobe Max, and let's say if you type the first couple of letters, your type will pop up here, so you don't have to go searching for it. But if you grab this and you come up here, see the capital T's? So you can make things all caps. You can make things mixed case. You can do, this is how you would do footnotes. You can do underlines and strike throughs, but so all caps. And then optical, and then if I come in here, the higher this number, the more space I put between the letters. Now, when you take a typography course, you're going to learn about kerning and letter spacing. About adding your own space, kerning and letter spacing. But I just want to touch on this, that if you wanted to stretch something out or track something in, this is how you would do it. I'm going to use my keyboard commands. There we go. All right. So there's the first thing I want to show you. The second thing I wanted to show you is if I come to the window, InDesign allows you to work in layers. So if you would like to work on your colors and your backgrounds, it would probably make sense to go in and make a type layer out of your type. Everything on this layer now is on type. Come down here, create a new layer, and you can call it background. Whoops, and you can spell it correctly. And then just like in Illustrator, you can pull that down, and now I can work on the background without anything else getting in my way. So I can come over here to the box tool, the rectangle tool. This should all seem eerily familiar to you. And again, just like in Adobe Illustrator, there are two ways I can do this. I can go to the window, and I can go to color, and I can go to swatches. Okay, these are the swatches that kind of come with this thing. Or if I want to do it on the fly, I can pick a color. I can use the eyedropper tool if I have a photograph that I want to place and sample off the photograph. All right. If I come back up to window, I can go to gradient, and I can pick, just like in Adobe Illustrator, you can create some gradients. So I'm going to come on over here, and I'll start with, let's see, what do I want? So I can double click and add some gradients. And what I can do is I'll come over here and pick some colors. And again, I can do a radial gradient. I can do a regular gradient. The other way that you can do gradients in InDesign, let me just show you, is if I fill this box with a color, I can come over here to the gradient feather tool. This is the gradient tool, so you can use this to create gradients if you wanted to. But this is the gradient feather tool, so watch what I can do. what's happening is that this is gradiating from the solid color that I picked to white. So you can create some very interesting effects. Hang on a second. I'm going to bring in an image, just like you did for your homework. So I made a picture box. I'm going to go File, Place, and let me go to my desktop. Hang on a second. Yeah, let's take a look at this one. This is a very pretty image. Now I'm going to pull this up. I'm going to grab this frame. This is just what we were working on when you guys did your homework. I'm going to pull this out, my finger on the shift key, so I can scale it. And then if I come back over here to this tool and I start here and go here, see how it feathers out and the two things kind of meet in the middle? So if you're looking to do something along those lines, not a bad idea. The other thing I'd like you to look at is the effects tool. Where is it? Where did it end up? Here it is. So this should look familiar to you. You've got the same pass-through layers. So if I get this, and if I come up here to Object, look, I can bring things to the front and I can leave things behind, just like in Adobe Illustrator. And I can come here and change the opacity. For those of you that I was talking about putting big type behind, in columns behind your text, you can change. This is how you change the opacity, so you can make things quite light. So if you want to have, let me go back to my layer menu. If I turn the type on, I think you can see how badly this isn't working, right? But then I can just go back to effects. I can make that lighter. I can grab this and make it very light indeed. So if you want to do this, if you're interested in putting color behind your type, then go to it. By all means, start kind of playing around with this. But remember what we talked about in class. The form follows the function. If the function of this thing is to be clean and readable, I'm going to turn off the preview for a second, then don't lose sight of that. Don't lose sight of what it is that you're trying to do here. Don't get so caught up with your beautiful imagery or your gorgeous background color that the type becomes unreadable. Really pay attention to what you're doing. And bear in mind, let me just do something super quick. This is just like your silly teacher futzing around in design. So let's say that I wanted to make all of this, I wanted to use a really beautiful purple. I could use, by the way, the 6-digit color that you get when you go to, let's see, sorry. Is it going to work? I don't know if it's going to work. No, I don't want Visual Splash. Anyway, the color picker. If you want to go into that site, it escapes me for a second, but if you wanted to go into that site, that I will put the link in the description, you could just get that bin hex color. If I click on this box and come in here, if you type in the 6-digit bin hex color, you can pick up colors. You can do the same thing that we did in Adobe Illustrator way back at the beginning. But now I just want to point something out. All this stuff is style sheeted, or at least it should be. And so if I was going to make the decision to put this stuff against this background, I would definitely consider making this type white. So there's a couple of different ways I can do this. I could do Command A on your keyboard, which would select everything within the type box. I could come in here and make it white. And then what I would need to do, especially if this was a multi-page document, I'd need to go into my paragraph styles and I would say, redefine the style. Redefine the style. All right down the line, because I think you can see, because I've changed the color of this stuff, I need to redefine all of the styles. So see, look at this one. I always do this. The first one in any group, I forget to style. Looks like I forgot to style a lot of these. Where is it? Huh. Anyway, here, I'll do this one the other way. So if I, instead of just changing it and redefining the style, watch this. If I go into body copy and I double click, these are all the elements of the style. And if I come down here to character color, I can just grab paper. If you're going to do it that way though, you're going to need to have all of your swatches in here before you start messing around. So you can add color swatches here the exact same way that you added them in Illustrator, right? In this case, it's CMYK. If I go to web, I can do web colors. Let me see. You can do RGB. If you do RGB, there's the hex code. There's the 6-digit code. All right. So you can add colors here and then apply them here as you go through. I would never do this. Look how hard that is to read. I would absolutely either tint it back and make this type black again, or I would pick a darker, maybe I'd double click on the color and I'd add some black. Okay. The other thing I want to show you, besides this, and in class we're going to really go over all this stuff. Again, this is just for the folks that in class on Friday had already set all their style sheets. Let's say I want to put in the photographs of people. So I'm going to draw a picture box, this frame, and I am going to make sure. Anyway, I'm going to go to File, Place, and this is Chaitanya Narayan. He is, I'm probably massacring his name, I apologize. Again, I'm going to go to Fit, and I'll say Content Aware Fit, because I want his name, his face. And then you want to make sure, I'm going to get my layers. My screen's getting kind of messy here. Here's my layers. See this? Remember in Illustrator when we moved an object from one layer to the other? Boom. Now he's on top of the text. So I just, the same way we did that in Illustrator, I'm doing it now. Move him over. I'm going to come up here and make him a little bigger so we can see his face. Now what I want is I want the type to move away from the image, right? I want the text to wrap. So I go to Window, Text Wrap. Where is it? Here it is. There are a lot of ways to wrap text. This is the one we want. Wrap the text around the bounding box. And you can see that the text kind of jumps away. Now, see these? These are the text wrap. So I'm going to switch off this because I don't want them to be even. I want this one, this side, I want the text to move away. That's this one. So see that? Can you see how the type is moving? And then this one, the bottom one, there we go. So I've moved this one to, it's actually a negative number so that the text comes up. So just bear in mind though, that if you start moving things around the page, don't forget your text boxes and your image boxes now are linked together. All right? So that's how you do that. And then once I have one that I've established, I can copy and paste it and move it down the page. And then I can put in this person's picture if I want to, right? I would wait until you know where on the page you want all of this text to go. I think what I'm going to do is, let's see, these are all on Tuesday. This is the first one that's on a Wednesday. So I'm going to do that thing I showed you in class. I'm going to stick my type tool right here, and I'm going to use my enter key, which is on the right side of the keyboard in the lower right hand corner. And then if I turn on the invisibles, this is just to review what we showed in class. I can get rid of that extra character. And then let's see, these are all Wednesdays. This is the first Thursday class, so I'm going to come here and move these here. So this is just how my layout goes. Your layout, you know, you may be doing this differently. But you can see there, and then maybe I want to move all of this stuff down and put the days of the week at the top. So in that case, I'm going to lock down the background just the way we used to in Adobe Illustrator and move all of this stuff down so that I have the chance to do that. Man, I hate this color. Okay. Let me go in and maybe I want a deep purple. Okay. So you can add images in the background. You can add anything that you've drawn in Adobe Illustrator, like a pattern or a texture or a gradient. You want to bring in images. You know how to do that because you've done the homework where you added in your images. Hopefully by the time you come into class, at the very least, you will have all of this stuff. I'm going to put a soft return in here. You will have all of this stuff styled with your paragraph style, okay? And then we can talk about adding color and adding imagery. We can talk about that in class, all right? Please let me know if you have questions. I'm right here. And as I mentioned in class, the last day of class will not be the day this project is due. You're going to turn in as far as you've gotten the night before, and we'll go over it in class and I will critique it. And then you'll have an extra week to finish up this project. And fun fact, I am still your teacher even after the semester ends. So if you want to ask me questions or do extra help after the semester ends, that is perfectly fine with me. All right. Let me know if you want to talk.